You acknowledge the people around you, your colleagues, your kids, your friends, your partner. You see their wins. You celebrate their brilliance, and you make sure they feel seen. Then you go home, look in the mirror, and see everything you haven't done yet. Everything you still need to fix, everything that isn't quite enough. Let me ask you something. When was the last time something went well? Something you created, something you navigated, something you built, and you stopped and said to yourself, I did that. Yeah, look, I did that. Not to anyone else necessarily, just to yourself. I did that. If you are struggling to remember, this video is for you. And if the idea of saying that to yourself made you a little uncomfortable just now, this is definitely for you. In this video, I'm going to give you 10 ways to start acknowledging yourself, starting today, and I'm going to bust wide the myth that doing so makes you arrogant, selfish, or too much. Because that belief is one of the most expensive ones you are carrying. Let's go. I've worked with thousands of people in nearly 20 years of coaching, and one pattern shows up more consistently than almost anything else. Brilliant, capable, creative people who are working hard, making progress, but they cannot bring themselves to acknowledge it. They cannot stop long enough to say, I did that. That was me. That was good. And when I ask them why, you know what I hear? It feels arrogant. It feels like I'm being selfish. It feels like I'm bragging. I would look them straight in the eye, and now I'm looking at you, and I would say, no, it does not. That is not arrogance. That is not selfishness. That is not bragging. That is you finally admitting what is true. And the world needs you to do that. Here's what happened to most of us. We were taught by well-meaning people, by culture, by every message we absorbed growing up that being proud of yourself was dangerous. That if you acknowledged your own brilliance, someone would call you conceited. Someone would decide you thought you were better than everyone else. And so we learned to wait. Wait for someone else to see it first. Wait for the external validation before we allowed ourselves to feel it internally. Waiting for permission. But here's the thing about waiting. The acknowledgement that comes from outside can never fill up the space that self-acknowledgement was meant to hold inside. You can receive 1,000 compliments and still go home feeling unseen because you have not learned to see it yourself first. And here's the energetic reality of what happens when you don't acknowledge yourself. The energy contracts. Your capacity shrinks, and you are constantly rebooting, restarting, rebuilding from zero because you never stop to register what you already built. You suppress your own brilliance and then wonder why it feels so hard to access. And the twist is, we think we're being humble. We think we're being appropriate. We think we are making space for others by making ourselves smaller. But a dimmed light does not illuminate anything. It just makes the room darker. I want to make a distinction here, though, because this is one that's important and it changes everything. There is a difference between boasting and acknowledging. Boasting is about being superior, better than, above others. Boasting needs an audience. Boasting requires someone to be beneath you for it to work. Acknowledgement is something else entirely. The definition of acknowledgement is simply this: to admit or show one's knowledge of something. That's it. Not to perform it, not to shove it in anyone's face, not to stand on a table and announce your greatness to the room, simply to see what is true. To admit what you know, to say, yes, that happened, I created that, I did that. And here's the slightly cheeky part. You already know it. You already know when you did something well. You already know when you navigated something hard. You already know when you created something worth acknowledging. You're just not letting yourself say it, internally or externally. And that is not humility, my friend. That is self-suppression. And it's costing you a lot. So here are 10 ways to start acknowledging yourself right now. And this isn't just a list. These are ways to strengthen yourself. Shift number 10. Acknowledge the wins. Go ahead and start with the big obvious ones. The ones that not even your inner critic can argue with. Did you hit a goal? Land a client? Finish something you started? Acknowledge it. Out loud if you can. Write it down if that's more your speed. But here's the distinction. Here's where we go deeper. Do not wait for the destination to celebrate. Acknowledge the journey as it's happening. Most people wait until the end, until the goal is hit, the project is done, the transformation is complete. And then they celebrate for about 45 seconds before moving on to the next thing. What if you acknowledged every step that got you there? The decision to start, the day you kept going when you wanted to quit, the moment you chose differently than you would have chosen 6 months ago. Those are wins. Those are huge wins. Acknowledge them. They help you build the road as you go to get you there. Shift number 9. You change the room. This one is going to reframe something you've probably been calling luck or coincidence. You walk into a situation and something shifts. A conversation goes differently than expected. A problem resolves. An opportunity appears that wasn't there before. And you think, wow, great timing, lucky me. No, that was you. That was you changing the energy of the environment around you. I had a client once who literally stopped an armed robbery by yelling, no. One word, her energy, her demand, her presence changed the outcome of that situation entirely. They turned and ran away from her. You can do this too. Hopefully you don't have to do with armed robberies, but you have it in you if you do. But you shift environments, conversations, outcomes constantly with your energy, your requests, and your presence. Stop calling it luck and start acknowledging your power. Shift number 8, your everyday magic. You know those moments that you can't find something, you looked everywhere 3 times, possibly 4, and then you stop and you ask, you shift, you're like, ooh, and there it is. Or something shows up at exactly the right moment, the right person, the right information, the right opportunity. That is not the universe doing you a random favor. That is you co-creating with the universe. So acknowledge your everyday magic. The small things that aren't so small. The moments that feel like coincidence, but are actually evidence of your creative power at work. And get in the habit of saying, oh, I did that. Even for what people call the small ones. Especially for those. Shift number 7. 1% is everything. You want more. You are working towards more. And today you shifted 1%. And your brain goes, 1%? That is nothing. That is not enough. That does not count. I need you to hear this clearly. 1% is everything. 1% today is 2% tomorrow. 2% becomes 5. 5 becomes the version of you that you are currently calling the future you. Every monumental transformation you have ever admired about someone or something else started with a 1% shift that someone chose to acknowledge instead of dismiss. Acknowledge the increment. That is where momentum lives. Shift number 6. You saw it that's the win. This one is a game changer, and I need you to stay with me for a little bit with it. You're working on shifting a pattern, a behavior, a way of being that no longer serves you. And today, you did it. You did the thing you're trying to stop doing. But the old response, shame spiral, self-criticism, I'm never going to change. I challenge you with a new response. Oh, I saw that. I did that. I see my pattern. The fact that you saw it is the win. Yesterday, you wouldn't have noticed. Today you did. That noticing, that awareness, that it's growth, and that is staying present in your life. And it's the first step of every real change that has ever happened. Because you can't change something if you can't see it. So even if you did it, the magic is that you saw it. And that gives you all the choices. So instead of judging yourself for doing the thing, acknowledge yourself for seeing it. No shame, no spiral, just, I see it. I got you. I see you. We're working on it. That is how change happens. Shift number 5, know your intent. You are not perfect. Neither am I. Neither is anyone watching this video or on the planet. But you know something that your inner critic conveniently forgets? You know your intentions. You know that you are trying. You know that you are working on it. That the reason you are here watching this, doing this work, is because you genuinely want to grow, to contribute, to show up better. So acknowledge that. Not the outcome, but the intent. The fact that you are a complex, flawed, valuable human being who is doing their best with what they have and what they know. That is not a small thing. That is the foundation everything else is built on. Acknowledge the person who keeps showing up you. Even when it's hard, even when it is slow, even when nobody else is watching. Shift number 4, you are still here. Think about what you've been through. Not in a dwelling on it way, but in an honest, reckoning way. The challenges, the setbacks, the moments where it could have been completely reasonable to give up. And you didn't. You kept going. You found a way. You picked yourself up probably more times than you can count. And you kept moving. How do I know? Because you're here. And that is not ordinary. That is resilience. That is strength. That is a potency that deserves to be acknowledged directly and without apology. You have had hard days. You're still here. You're still creating. You are still showing up. Acknowledge that today. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are still in it. And that counts for everything. Shift number 3. Nobody sees it like you. Here is something that gets dismissed so casually, it kind of makes me want to throw things. Your perspective, your specific, particular, completely unrepeatable way of seeing the world. Nobody has your combination of experience, insights, instincts, and ideas. Nobody processes what you process in the way that you process it. Nobody sees what you see when you walk into a room, read a situation, or come up with a solution. That is not nothing. That is an extraordinary asset. And when you dismiss your perspective, when you say, oh, it's just my opinion, or who am I to say, or someone else probably already thought of this. You are taking something genuinely valuable and throwing it in the bin. Acknowledge your perspective. It's not like anybody else's. And that's the point. Shift number 2, acknowledge your kindness. I want you to think of a moment, recent or not, where you were kind to someone else or to yourself. Maybe it was a big gesture, or maybe it was just a text you sent at the right moment. Maybe it was the choice to extend grace to yourself on a hard day instead of piling on. That kindness is part of who you are. It's not accidental. It's not automatic. It is a choice you make because you care. Acknowledge that part of you. Not to perform it, not to add it to a list of reasons you are good enough. Just to see it, to say, that is me. That is part of who I am, and it matters. Because, my friend, it really does. Shift number 1, lift the whole room. Here's the one that ties everything together, and it might be the most counterintuitive thing I say in this entire video. But here we go. Acknowledge others. Genuinely. Fully. Without the sticky undercurrent of jealousy or the quiet voice that says, it should have been me. I know. We're on a video about self-acknowledgement, and I'm telling you to acknowledge other people. Stay with me. My sweet mama used to say, a rising tide lifts all ships. She was right. But here's the energetic dimension of it that goes even deeper. When you genuinely acknowledge someone else's brilliance, not performed, not obligatory, but real, something expands in you. Because you cannot truly see brilliance in others if you are suppressing the awareness of it in yourself. And when you let yourself see it in them, really see it, you are also training yourself to see it in you. True acknowledgement is not a finite resource. It does not diminish you to give it. There is no pie being divided up where someone else's slice makes your slice smaller. When you acknowledge others from a place of genuine expansion, the energy comes back, it ripples out, it creates more. This is the, yes, I am amazing, and so are you, model of being in the world. No better than, not less than, just all of us. Fully seen, fully acknowledged, fully brilliant. And that is what self-acknowledgement opens the door to. Not arrogance, not selfishness, but to a whole room full of people who finally know their own worth. Here is what I want you to walk away with today. You, my friend, are creating magic every single day, in ways big and small, in ways you are noticing, in ways you are not even trained to see. And every time you refuse to acknowledge it, every time you brush it off, minimize it, wait for someone else to validate it first, you are making yourself a little less available to yourself, to the people around you, to everything you say you want to create. So start today, right now. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can acknowledge about me today? Maybe it's that you got out of bed. Maybe it's that you were watching this video and something shifted. Maybe it is that you are still trying when trying is hard. Whatever it is, say it, write it down, let yourself mean it, feel it, let it permeate your universe. Your worth is not waiting for permission to exist. Your magic is not contingent on someone else seeing it first. It's already there. Acknowledge it. Change the whole world by acknowledging you.